Well, I think that means we can move on to not quite, maybe not equally sad, but another sad story in Chicago, this side on the north side of town with my Chicago Cubs. Um, 83 wins. I can't remember. I think you and I discussed this just a little bit ago. If it was 85, 80, 88 wins, maybe we thought they were going to get. I think both of us thought they would be just above average. We thought that would be enough to win the very average NL Central, but we were very wrong about that. As the meteoric I don't know what you call the Brewers. They just never go away. They're good no matter what's going on. But they won far more games than I thought they would after losing their manager to my Cubs, Craig Counsell, who I believe was a top 5 manager in the game and responsible for a lot of the Brewers' success over the last 8 years.
Wrong.
Um, yeah, it's interesting, like how you analyze the Brewers pre Craig Counsell or post Craig Counsell, because they seem about the same. The Cubs also seem about the same, whether they have David Ross at the helm or Craig Counsell. So it's a very frustrating time to be a Cubs fan for the last 5 years at least now, as we've chronicled ad nauseum. This team, you think I've been banging the drum that they are a major market behemoth that acts like a middle market team. Trying to find the small edges here and there, but they also spend quite a bit of money. They're bumping up against the salary cap, de facto salary cap, the luxury tax at close to $240 million, and yet they've assembled a very mediocre team, just above 500, which is exactly what we thought they did before this season started. That's what the team looked like to us, and that's exactly what they were. Uh, Maybe they miscalculated and thinking that was enough. Maybe they're just doing the bare minimum to think, what it takes just to get into the playoffs. And I think that's a failure of imagination and a failure of the president. And Jed Hoyer has to be on the hot seat after the season, because we have seen the same thing over and over again in
Yep.
different forms, that this team is just less than the sum of their parts over and over again. We've seen it. You and I could see it clearly what was going to happen going into the season. That's exactly what it did. The frustrating part about it is there's no clear way out of this being mired in mediocrity, to steal a phrase. What do they do? Do they suddenly go way over the salary cap and way over the luxury tax and go after Juan Soto? That's an easy solution. Where do they improve this roster? How do they go about that? Who do they trade somebody? Yeah, I've heard rumors of Nico Horner, like a cornerstone of their youth movement, who is not a bad player by any means, and thus he would have some trade value. But what do you get if you trade away Nico Horner? Like, where do the Cubs go from here? They're just. I feel like Jed Hoyer has kind of painted himself into a corner, and is gotten nowhere but to the middle. And the Cubs fans are angry, but we're still going to games. You'd never know that this team is underachieving, uh, by the enthusiasm of the crowds at Wrigley. I don't know what has to happen from here. I don't have answers. I try to. This is a terrible, mediocre podcast, but I try to at least give some insight, at least what I think could be beneficial to, or the path towards success. But I don't know where the Cubs go from here. Either spend way more money than they have been, or completely gut everything, get rid of Jed Hoyer, and start over again. Get some new minds in there. Get a completely different direction, because what they've got going now is not working. It's clear that they're in a spiral. It is just not going to where a major market team with their own goddamn television network, that makes money hand over fist, through attendance, sponsorship, everything else, to be this mediocre. So I don't know. Maybe you've got answers from afar over there, but I'm perplexed and clearly fed up, as I think most Cubs fans are as well.
Well, I mean, number one, this is what I would say. You have the same record as you did with Ross. You spent more
Yeah.
money on the manager really than you did on upgrading the talent on the field. You
Yeah.
essentially brought the same team back and said, well, we brought in this great manager and he's going to push it over the edge. It was David Ross's fault, but it wasn't.
That was literally the narrative that
Yeah.
we were supposed to buy in the off
Yeah.
season, and
You know,
everything was going to be great because we got a new manager.
I mean, to have the same exact record both years with or without Ross, um, is crazy. Finishing 9 games out last year and 10 games out this year, and then the Brewers won one more game this year. They won 92 last year, 93 this year. Craig
Yeah.
Counsell is not a factor into a ball club's performance. Apparently, that is one thing over a very small sample size so far. We can say, but I think again, like it comes I think Jed Hoyer is the problem. He was terrible as the GM in San Diego. And
There's
he did not even have he doesn't have the funds available to him that he does here. And his evaluation of maybe not so much the minor league talent, because the Cubs seem to have some pretty decent players coming up through the system, but
Do
it,
they?
I don't know,
We
like,
keep hearing that, but they can't come up to the majors somehow other than Pete Crow
yeah,
Armstrong.
I don't know, but let's say for this conversation at the moment they do.
Hmm.
It's his inability to close the big deal on the pro level that was always the thing that Theo was able to do. And maybe Tom doesn't. Maybe Ricketts does not, trust Jed the same way he trusted Theo.
Well,
But
with good reason. I mean, Theo's got the track record that
yeah,
Jed does not, just
yeah,
as you pointed out. So, we've been told over and over again how healthy this organization is, to your point about the farm system. But how is that helping the major league product, which is the whole point of a healthy farm system? It has not, other than like Pete Crow Armstrong is the one player they've really developed so far. I don't know. It's almost like the Cubs need a radical solution, and I've just came up with one that I want to run by you, get your thoughts on.
okay,
Craig Counsell actually has front office experience. He had that before he even became manager of the Brewers in 2015. And there's been a lot of talk about how kind of what on equal footing the relationship is between Counsell and Jed Hoyer. Like he's almost like a or like an assistant general manager or the general manager to the president. I'm wondering if maybe eventually Craig Counsell gets kicked up into the front office as eventually Jed's successor, and you bring in David Ross as your manager. I think that would be the perfect combination then. Like
well, he won't
you
be
got new thoughts from
available.
outside the organization. Yeah. That's going to be fascinating. Of course, I'm joking. That would be ridiculous. It'd be really fun, actually. But that's going to be a big topic of conversation this offseason. Where does David Ross land? What does he even want to do? We brought it up briefly, but this past year at different times. But he definitely needed a year off, just sitting on the beach, probably laughing his face off. It's what's happened with the Cubs. Like you fucking scapegoated me and didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
There's got to be
exactly.
some bitterness. I'm not sure if he's a bitter guy. I don't. Maybe he is. Maybe he has no reason to be bitter. Maybe he's super happy with his time and can't believe he was a major league manager for a time and is thankful for all of it. But I think I'd be kind of bitter. But I think he's going to be a hot commodity on the managerial market this offseason. So I'd be curious to see where that plays out. But just wanted to throw that radical theory out there. See if I could raise an eyebrow.
I mean, he'll be the White Sox manager, so it's going to be hard for him to be the Cubs manager. So it's all good.
That's interesting. What if we went to the South Side? That would be fascinating. That would definitely be a spite move. But why not? Fucking a.
83 wins looks great right now.
Yeah.
It's double. It's double,
For
basically.
40 win improvement. That'd be pretty damn good.
Yeah, that'd be pretty damn good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I never liked Jed Hoyer. I I watched him carefully.
He's kind of benign. He's not a unlikable guy, but he's just sort of a
Yeah, he's
corporate
vanilla.
stooge almost.
Vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like the run of the mill like on air broadcaster sort of situation. But anyway,
He fits the suit,
best of luck
so
to
to
you.
speak.
Word Hole Media.